The kick heard around the block. The day started with a glare, not the emotional kind. The sun had decided it was in a bad mood, and it was beaming down on the city's cracked sidewalks like 1,000 judgmental mothers. The people of downtown LA were hustling along, earbuds in, lattes clutched, and attention firmly away from the world around them. That's probably why no one noticed the man sleeping beside the brick wall of a hardware store on 5th and Grand. His name was Elliot, once a truck mechanic, now just a ghost to most pedestrians. Beside him, curled in a nest of tattered blankets, was his dog, Mango, a golden retriever mutt with eyes too wise for his age and a nose that could sniff out kindness. Like a bloodhound sniffs beef jerky, they were inseparable. Mango had stayed when Elliot had lost his job, his home, and eventually, most of his faith in people. But Mango remained his four-legged life coach with a tail that wagged like a metronome of hope. And then he showed up. Not Keanu. Not yet. A growl of an engine cracked through the midday noise, turning heads. A biker roared into the street, all chrome and ego. Troy Diesel Ruckman, yes. That's the name he insisted people use. Was the kind of guy who thought empathy was a sign of weakness and used his reflection in a gas station window as a mirror for grooming. He spotted Mango first, sleeping peacefully, ears twitching in the sun. Then he saw Elliot, slumped next to a cardboard sign that read, "Not asking for money, just kindness." "Mango and I thank you," Troy sneered. Pathetic. There was no build-up, no drama, no evil monologue. Just a casual swing of his heavy boot walk, and Mango yelped. He rolled onto his side, crying in confusion, pain radiating from his ribs. Elliot jolted awake, scrambled to cradle his dog, and shouted, "What the hell, man?" Troy revved his bike in response. "Train your mutt to get out of the way. Streets ain't a dog park." He laughed, loud and stupid, like a kid who didn't understand why stepping on ants wasn't funny. And then came the sound that would change everything. Hey, it was sharp, calm, but commanding. Every head turned, and there he was. Keanu, in full Keanu mode. Not Matrix fight scene Keanu. Not even John Wick with a puppy Keanu. Just Keanu, wearing jeans, a worn gray t-shirt, and a face that said, "You messed up." Troy squinted. "Wait, are you?" "Yes," Keanu said before he could finish. "And you're a coward." Troy blinked. "What? You just kicked a defenseless dog for fun while he was sleeping? That doesn't make you tough. That makes you sad." The street went silent. Even the pigeons looked like they were pausing their schedules. Elliot sat, stunned, while Mango whimpered quietly in his lap. Keanu crouched beside them. "You okay, buddy?" he asked. It was unclear if he was talking to Elliot or Mango. Mango wagged his tail slowly. Elliot, overwhelmed, nodded. Troy scoffed, embarrassed now. "You going to call the cops, movie star?" "No," Keanu said, standing. "I'm going to offer this man lunch, a vet visit for his dog, and a ride. You can go back to whatever hole you climbed out of." Troy tried to argue, but the attention was no longer on him. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Yeah, get lost, jerk." And for once, the tough guy on the bike decided not to fight. He sped off, tires screeching, the echo of his engine drowned by the rising tide of applause. YouTube transcript, Part 1. The kick heard around the block. Opening music plays, soft piano and guitar. Narrator, gentle voice. In a world where cruelty can hide behind helmets and horsepower, sometimes kindness wears jeans and walks calmly into the frame. Footage shows a busy street. A biker rides up, cuts to a dog sleeping. Narrator, meet Mango, the most loyal dog you've never heard of. And this is Elliot, his best friend, homeless but never hopeless, until one day, the unthinkable happened. Biker kicks the dog. Crowd gasps. Narrator, but fate has a funny way of delivering justice. Keanu walks into frame. Crowd whispers. Keanu clip. That doesn't make you tough, that makes you sad. Slow motion shot of Keanu comforting the dog. Emotional music swells. Narrator, this isn't just a story of pain, it's the beginning of something much bigger. A story of rescue, redemption, and resilience. Text on screen, Part 1. The kick heard around the block. Narrator, you won't believe what happens next. The man behind the myth city forgot things fast. Yesterday's scandal becomes today's scroll past. The viral moment on 5th and Grand had burned bright. For about 48 hours, cell phone videos of Keanu Reeves confronting a biker and comforting a homeless man's dog were everywhere. Twitter exploded. TikTok stitched it into tributes with acoustic covers of What a Wonderful World. Hashtags like hashtag Mango Strong and hashtag Keanu Karma trended worldwide. And yet, just a few blocks away from that very scene, Elliot and Mango were exactly where they'd been before the fame, hungry, tired, and invisible again. Fame fades fast when you're not the one holding the phone. Except someone hadn't forgotten the van that changed everything. 3 days after the incident, Elliot was half asleep outside a closed laundromat, clutching Mango like a warm pillow. He hadn't eaten since the soggy peanut butter sandwich from the church pantry. Mango hadn't touched his kibble either. His ribs were bruised, maybe cracked. Elliot tried not to panic. That's when he heard the van. It wasn't the usual whir of delivery trucks or city buses. This one purred. Smooth, expensive. The door slid open with a cinematic shhhh. A tall man stepped out wearing a hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low. It could have been anyone until he spoke. "Hey, Elliot." Mango, the voice, that impossibly chill, can make you cry with a hug voice. Keanu. Elliot's eyes widened. You remember us?" Keanu smiled. It's hard to forget a dog with eyes like his. "You up for a ride?" Elliot hesitated. I haven't showered in days. "I can't." Keanu raised a hand. "Don't worry about it. Come on, I've got a friend who wants to meet you." Mango's new leash on life van rolled through the city like it had VIP clearance. Inside was cleaner than some clinics Elliot had been to. Leather seats, bottled water, even a small cooler full of dog treats. Mango finally ate, slowly, cautiously, like he was waiting for someone to take it away. They arrived at an animal hospital that looked more like a luxury hotel. Inside, a soft-spoken vet named Dr. Harper Lynn greeted them. Mr. Reeves called ahead. She said with a wink, "We're all ready for Mango." For 2 hours, Elliot waited in the lobby, chewing his fingernails into shrapnel. Keanu sat beside him the whole time, chatting like they'd known each other for years. Elliot eventually cracked. "Why are you helping me?" Keanu shrugged. "You helped him." He nodded toward the exam room door. "You didn't abandon your dog when you had every excuse to." That says something. Before Elliot could respond, Dr. Lynn returned. "Good news," she said. "No internal bleeding to cracked ribs, but he'll heal. Some rest, some love, and maybe fewer biker boots." They laughed, awkwardly but genuinely. Then Keanu did something Elliot didn't expect. He turned to Dr. Lynn and said, "He'll need a place to stay for a few days. Can we cover boarding here?" "Of course." And after that, Keanu turned to Elliot. "I've got an idea. You ever heard of the Haven Project, a new chance?" Not a handout. Haven Project was one of those quietly miraculous things that didn't make headlines. A non-profit owned a few rundown buildings just outside the city. Old motels turned into transitional housing. No media, no red carpets, just dignity, safety, and a door that locked. Elliot's room was small, clean, and came with a shower that had actual water pressure. Mango even had a dog bed that wasn't made of sidewalk scraps. And the fridge, stocked. There was one note on the counter: "Use this time. Heal when you're ready. Let's talk." Elliot stared at it, heart pounding. The pen had pressed hard into the paper. Real ink, real effort. He sank into the mattress. Mango hopped up beside him, nuzzled his neck. For the first time in weeks, Elliot cried. Not from pain, from relief. Elliot's second gear. Over the next few days, Elliot transformed not into someone new, but someone he used to be. He shaved, ate, laughed, slept the kind of sleep that doesn't come with one eye open. And then one morning, Keanu showed up at his door on a motorcycle, no less. "I figured," he said, "you might want a ride." Elliot blinked. "I don't have a license." Keanu grinned. "You will." They rode Elliot on the back, Mango in a specially designed dog carrier, wind hitting their faces like a baptism. For a moment, it didn't feel like they were escaping the past. It felt like they were chasing the future. the garage that gave back. Turns out, the Haven Project had more than housing. It had purpose. One of their branches was an old auto shop, renovated into a community job training center. Keanu pulled up to the gate and pointed. They need mechanics. You used to be one, right? Elliot nodded slowly. Then maybe this isn't a rescue, Keanu said. Maybe it's a reintroduction. Inside the garage, the smell of grease and coffee filled the air. A grizzled woman in oil-streaked overalls walked up and extended a hand. Name's Joe. You got a pulse and know a socket wrench from a spoon. Elliot shook her hand. I do. Then you're hired. Just like that. Epilogue. The hero, who didn't want credit. Video footage from part 1 eventually got picked up by news outlets. Talk shows reached out to Elliot. A Netflix documentary producer called Keanu. He politely declined. This isn't my story, he said. It's theirs. So the media moved on. As media does. But within the Haven Project, something had shifted. Donations increased. Volunteers doubled. A mural was painted on the garage's sidewall. Elliot, holding a wrench, Mango, beside him. The words underneath read, "Rescued" is not a past tense. YouTube transcript, Part 2. The man behind the myth. Soft guitar fades in. Video opens with a nighttime view of the city skyline. Narrator emotional tone. What happens after the cameras stop rolling? After the applause fades and the crowd disperses? Footage, Keanu's van pulling up. Mango and Elliot entering a vet clinic. Narrator. For Elliot and Mango, it wasn't the end of the story, it was just the beginning. Montage, Mango being examined, Elliot sitting beside Keanu in a waiting room. Keanu clip, you didn't leave him. That's something. Narrator, a new home, a second chance, and a garage where broken things weren't thrown away but fixed. Footage, Elliot working in the shop, Mango watching nearby. Slow-mo of laughter, smiles. Narrator, this is what real heroes do. They show up, quietly, consistently, and they don't ask for credit. Cut to mural on the wall. Rescued is not a past tense. Narrator, stay tuned for part 3. Because this story, it's just shifting into gear. Ghosts in the rearview. One night before the storm, Elliot woke at 3:12 a.m. again. Not from nightmares, not exactly. Just the kind of half-sleep that feels like your brain's buffering something you're not ready to watch. Mango was snoring softly at the foot of the bed, twitching in some kind of squirrel-chasing dream. Outside, the night air hummed with distant traffic and the occasional laugh of a drunk pedestrian trying to keep their dignity while failing to walk in a straight line. Elliot stared at the ceiling. He was clean, fed, had a bed, a job. But inside, something still rattled like a screw loose in an engine no one could quite find. Because while the world saw a feel-good comeback story, Elliot knew better. You can polish a hood, but if the engine's cracked, you're just driving toward a breakdown. Boxes he'd bury it the next morning at the shop. Joe greeted Elliot with a coffee and a clipboard. Got a shipment coming in. Think you can handle inventory today? Sure, he replied, sipping and pretending to be more awake than he felt. In the back room, stacked behind towers of brake pads and dusty carburetors, he found a box with his name on it. Literally, Sharpie scrawled, E. Mercer, property. He opened it cautiously like it might bite. Inside was a pile of things the Haven Project had recovered from a shelter locker Elliot didn't even remember using. A photo of him in his 20s, greasy and proud beside a 1971 Chevelle, an old flannel that still smelled faintly of burnt oil, and a letter addressed to Elliot Mercer. From Julia Mercer, his ex-wife. He hadn't seen her in 9 years. His hands trembled. He stared at the envelope like it was ticking. The letter. Elliot, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I heard you disappeared after your dad passed. I heard you lost the house. And I heard about the fire at the shop. I'm sorry. Not just for what happened, but for not being able to fix you. I tried, and I failed. I thought maybe time would heal something. I see now you needed more than time. You needed someone to stay. I'm not angry anymore. I just hope, wherever you are, you found your feet again. And I hope you still have that damn dog. He loved you better than any of us knew how. Be well. Julie. Elliot sat in the back room for an hour, just staring at the letter. Not crying, just unraveling. Because when you're finally stable, That's when your ghosts come out to play. You're not broken. You're bruised later that day. Keanu dropped by, as he sometimes did, just walking into the garage like a dad who wasn't trying to be cool but somehow still was. He saw Elliot's face and paused. Bad gasket, Elliot snorted. Worse, letter from my ex. Keanu leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Wanna talk about it? Elliot exhaled. I don't know. Feels weird. Like, I'm not allowed to be upset anymore. I'm the comeback story, right? The homeless guy with the dog and the movie star buddy. Everything's fixed, right? Keanu just nodded. I still feel broken, Elliot confessed. That's because healing isn't a montage. Keanu said, dead serious. You're not broken. You're bruised. You'll walk with a limp, sure. But you'll still walk. Sometimes. He just says things, and you want to tattoo them onto your ribcage. The interview request that night, Joe handed Elliot a note. A production assistant from the Brandon Chase show had left it. They wanted Elliot and Mango on the show. Live taping. Next week. I didn't agree to anything. Joe said, sipping her thermos. But it's national. Elliot stared at the paper like it was trying to trick him. Why? Because America loves a redemption arc. Joe shrugged. Especially when Keanu's involved. Elliot didn't say yes. He didn't say no. But he didn't sleep that night either. The showdown studio was colder than expected. Mango wore a little harness with a bow tie. Elliot wore the flannel from the box, freshly washed. The show was all gloss and teleprompters, but Brandon chased all tan and a bit too toothy wasn't rude. Just shiny. You've become something of an internet legend, Brandon said during the pre-interview. People want to hear from you. I'm not a legend, Elliot replied. I'm a guy who hit rock bottom and got handed a rope. Brandon smiled. And you pulled yourself up. Elliot paused. No, I was pulled up. Then I learned how to climb again. That's different. The live taping was smooth until the last minute. Brandon leaned in. All drama. If you could say one thing to the man who kicked your dog, what would it be? Elliot blinked. He hadn't thought about Troy Diesel Ruckman in weeks. He looked at Mango, at the crowd, at the red blinking light of the live camera. Then he said, I'd tell him thank you. A gasp from the audience. Not because what he did was okay. It wasn't. But because that moment his cruelty was the thing that finally made the world stop and look. If he hadn't done what he did, I'd still be sleeping on concrete, praying my dog survived the night. He leaned forward. So thank you, Troy. I hope you get the help you need. Because people like Keanu didn't give me charity. They gave me permission to start over. Dead silence. Then a standing ovation. And in the corner, off stage and away from the spotlight, Keanu nodded. The man in the mirror later, backstage, a young man approached Elliot, nervous, pale. Hey, I'm not trying to bother you, but my dad was like you, homeless, addicted. We lost him last year. Elliot placed a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry, the kid swallowed. No one talks about what it actually feels like to fall apart or try to climb back. You're the first guy who made me feel like maybe I could help someone, or that I don't have to be ashamed. Elliot nodded. It's not shameful to break. Just remember to pick up the pieces with something other than blame. A fork in the road. The next day, Keanu met Elliot at the garage. You crushed it, he said, handing him a smoothie. I panicked and accidentally got philosophical. Keanu laughed. That's your thing now, philosopher mechanic. They sat on the curb. Actually, Keanu said, more serious now, I've been thinking. I want you to help with something, okay? There's a new project building a shelter for folks like you. Not just beds, jobs, healing. Mechanic shops, kitchens, music rooms, not another system. A sanctuary. He paused. I want you to run it. Elliot dropped his smoothie. YouTube transcript. Part 3. Ghosts in the rearview. Soft piano plays. Montage of Elliot reading a letter. Working in the shop. Pacing at night. Narrator calm voice. You can rebuild the world outside you. But what about the one inside? Clips of Keanu and Elliot talking. Footage of Mango playing with a ball. Elliot on a talk show. Elliot on show. They gave me permission to start over. Narrator. Healing isn't a straight road. But sometimes, your worst day becomes the reason someone sees your best one. Footage. Elliot standing beside a now hiring sign at the garage. Joe handing him a clipboard. Keanu's arm over his shoulder. Narrator, in Part 4, a sanctuary rises. But so do the stakes. And not every ghost stays buried. Text on screen, Part 4, the sanctuary and the storm. Narrator, because the past doesn't knock. It breaks down doors. The sanctuary and the storm. 1. Blueprints on a breakfast nap. Kindly had thought the whole run-it thing was metaphorical. Keanu, talking like those Zen nuggets he drops between sips of oat milk latte. Turns out, it was literal. Keanu, 48 hours after the smoothie drop fiasco, Elliot found himself in a sun-bleached diner staring at architectural drawings spread across 3 sticky tables. Mango occupied a 4th, gnawing happily on donated bacon. Keanu, hair tied back samurai style, tapped a pencil on the paper. We're calling it the Waystation. Transitional housing wrapped around workshops, auto, carpentry, culinary, tech. People don't just park here, they refuel. Elliot raised an eyebrow. And you want me to be the pit boss? Pit crew chief. Keanu corrected. Tiny grin. Nobody's the boss. We steer together. Elliot looked at the napkin under his coffee mug covered in doodles of spark plugs and hopeful arrows. This feels bigger than a redemption arc. Keanu shrugged. Redemption's great PR, but it's lousy infrastructure. Let's build roots. 2. Hammers hope. And 100 misfits. Word of the project spread faster than a cat meme on free Wi-Fi. Within a week, Joe trucked in half the garage's tools, declared herself forewoman/enforcer, and hung a sign reading nitrogen monoxide 1 bleeds alone. First aid is a team sport. Dr. Harper Lynn wrangled vet tech volunteers to construct a tiny, on-site animal clinic, because dogs are family and families shouldn't be separated at intake. A retired chef nicknamed Spatula Jack promised cooking lessons in exchange for unlimited black coffee. A gaggle of skateboard kids from Venice turned Demolition Day into a TikTok challenge, tearing drywall to the beat of dubstep, amassing 2 million views and 3 minor sprains. By Friday, Elliot's tool belt felt permanent. He hadn't smoked in 8 days, hadn't woken at 3 a.m. in 4. Each night he collapsed on a borrowed futon smelling of sawdust, and if ghosts visited, Mango chased them off with contented snorts. 3. Forecast. Complication Stribble rolled in with the marine layer. First sprinkle. Xander Capital, a private equity firm that owned half the neighborhood, sent a letter. Your renovation violates zoning ordinance 1 for C. Cease construction or face injunction. Keanu read it once, twice, then used it as a coaster. Zoning can be amended. Elliot wasn't as zen. Past experience taught him that the weight of one rich man's signature could crush 100 struggling ones. Sprinkle number to arrive the next morning in the form of Detective Marla Vega, La PD community liaison. She admired the dream, but she'd received a noise complaint stack thicker than a phone book. Your TikTok demolition went viral, so did neighbors' migraines. She gave them 72 hours to produce a proper permit or she'd shut the site down. Sprinkle number 3, a text from Joe at 10 p.m. We got hit. Hurry. 4. Bricks, bikers, and a blurry figure. When Elliot and Keanu arrived, the chain link fence lay crumpled like foil. Someone had ran the gate, trashed a half-framed wall, and spray-painted "Stay" broke across the concrete. In the debris sat a single motorcycle glove, heavy, black, reinforced knuckles. Elliot felt his stomach crater. Troy Diesel Ruckman. Joe stomped around taking photos. Insurance will cover materials. But morale's a different story. Keanu crouched, lifted the glove, turned it over. Fear is fuel if you burn it right. He murmured, let's convert it. 5. Community ignition. Next morning, Elliot called an all-hands circle on the crack asphalt. Over 50 volunteers to 2 artists, data analysts, single parents, grandmothers with power drills formed a lopsided donut around him. He cleared his throat. Someone thinks a pile of bricks can scare us. Prove them wrong. We rebuild today, bigger, safer, louder. A cheer rippled, small but fierce. Then Keanu stepped forward. Brought friends. 5 semi-trucks groaned into view, emblazoned with the logo of Archangel Films, the production company behind Keanu's last sci-fi epic. Outspilled union carpenters, set designers, even a stunt rigging crew. They'd finished principal photography early and owed Keanu a favor. Momentum. Supercharged. By dusk, the vandalized wall stood. Taller, thicker, anchored with hurricane straps even though Los Angeles doesn't get hurricanes. Preparedness was a statement. 6. Static on the Airwavashandra capital wasn't impressed. Its CEO, Magnus Zanderall marble jaw, and Yat Tan went on a local AM talk show. Host, why oppose a homeless to work pipeline? Zander, charity is admirable, but standards protect neighborhoods. These experiments attract crime. Elliot heard the broadcast while torquing beams. Rage flared. But Keanu's earlier words echoed. Fear is fuel. They needed a public relations counterpunch, one that couldn't be vetoed or rezoned. 7. The concert gambit spatula Jack, eavesdropping, mentioned his cousin booked indie bands. To phone calls later, the Waystation's skeletal courtyard had a makeshift stage, borrowed floodlights, and a Saturday night lineup. Rogue Weather surfpunk darlings, Midnight Ledger. Spoken word jazz hop, a surprise acoustic set by, rumor had it, Keanu's old dog star buddies, because life is nothing if not meta. Admission, one donated tool or bag of pet food. By showtime, the donation pile resembled a hardware store volcano. Even Detective Vega showed up off-duty, hoodie, hands full of duct tape and dog biscuits. Midset, Elliot took the mic, nervous, absolutely. But Joe's glare from front row said, "Speaker, I'll weld your mouth shut later. Every brick here is a second chance," he told the crowd. "If that threatens you, maybe you're protecting the wrong kingdom." Thunderous applause. Cameras flashed. The hashtag build the way trended before the encore. Xander Capital's lawyers lurked on the sidewalk, but optics are kryptonite to corporate avarice. They retreated. 8. The dog who spoke volume days post-concert. Dr. Lin called an emergency all-staff huddle by the clinic trailer. Mango had been lethargic, limping worse. X-rays showed one rib hadn't healed right. Surgery was needed. Cost $6,000. Elliot's knees went rubber. The man who'd faced homelessness, addiction, and national TV suddenly felt 5 inches tall. Keanu opened his wallet. Elliot shook his head. "I'm grateful, but the sanctuary needs funds more than my dog does." Dr. Lin cut in gently. "Sanctuaries are useless if the keepers are broken-hearted." Within an hour, the volunteer Discord launched Mango Strong 2.0. Fans from the original viral clip flooded its artist's auction prints. Gamers streamed marathons. A kindergarten class sold lemonade. 9 hours later, $7,842 raised. Surgery booked. Mango's tail thumped approval. 9. The eye of the storm. Just when hope peaked, the real storm arrived literally. An unseasonal thunder cell brewed over the basin, dark as wet charcoal. Weather alerts pinged phones. Severe winds, flash flood risk. The Waystation's roof was framed but not sealed. A downpour would ruin drywall, flooring, electrical. Joe barked. Orders like a drill sergeant with a PhD in profanity. Tarps flew. Volunteers became bucket brigades. Keanu hauled plywood like a Marvel extra. Elliot, soaked, hammering patch boards at 2 a.m. Felt déjà vu. This was the night his old shop had burned. Lightning split the sky. Thunder answered like a judge with a gavel. A gust ripped a tarp loose. Rain hammered exposed wiring. Sparks hissed. Elliot lunged, slipped. Keanu grabbed his belt, yanked him back. They landed hard, laughing like lunatics flirting with electrocution. Above them, the tarp finally held. Below, the floor stayed dry. Morning arrived silver and clean. The Waystation still stood. 10. After the deluge, Detective Vega inspected the site at dawn. No reported injuries. Noise kept neighbors awake. But you saved the structure. I'm filing this as community emergency response. Nice loophole. She winked. Elliot sagged with relief. Joe slapped patch lists on clipboards before anyone dared nap. Dr. Lin texted, "Mango out of surgery. Prognosis excellent." And then, as if karmic gears clicked into place, an email from City Hall. Ordinance 1 for C variance approved. The Waystation is now an official pilot project for transitional workforce housing. Keanu read it aloud, voice cracking ever so slightly. Cheer erupted, not polite applause, but full-body exhilaration. Someone popped ginger ale like champagne. 11. Quiet rooftop. Loud gratitudescence painted the half-finished roof in molten gold. Elliot and Keanu sat on plywood decking, legs dangling over the edge. Elliot exhaled. "I almost quit last night." "I know," Keanu said, sipping water. "But you didn't." Elliot smirked. "Because you grabbed my belt like a stagehand yanking talent off set." Keanu chuckled. "Partners don't let partners get electrocuted." Below them, volunteers laughed, argued about paint swatches, shared pizza, life in messy technicolor. Elliot looked at Keanu. "Why are you doing this, really?" Keanu considered. "Because one time, when I was 19, someone believed I was worth more than my worst day. I've been paying interest on that kindness ever since." Elliot nodded, eyes misty. "Guess I'd better start saving." Keanu bumped his shoulder. "Don't save it. Spend it." YouTube transcript. Part 4. The Sanctuary and the Storm opening shot. Time-lapse of volunteers raising walls. While clouds gather, narrator steady, cinematic. A dream is fragile until shared. Then it becomes a fortress. Cut, Xander Capital interview static overlay, narrator. But every fortress attracts a siege. Montage, vandalized site, glove on ground, community concert footage. Lightning storm bucket brigade. Elliot on stage, mid-concert. If a second chance scares you, maybe you're protecting the wrong kingdom. Thunder crack, Keanu and Elliot secure tarpon rain. Everything lit by strobe of lightning. Narrator. Sometimes the storm you fear tests the walls you built and sometimes it baptizes them. X-ray of mango, graphic overlay surgery successful. Volunteers cheering over email from City Hall. Narrator softening, when dawn breaks and the roof still stands. You realize it was never just lumber and nails. It was belief, nailed together by strangers who chose to be family. Drone shot pulls up from roof. Golden sunrise. Text on screen. Part 5. Echoes of the past, architects of tomorrow. Narrator. But a victory lap can turn into a minefield because the past hasn't fired its last. Shot. Echoes and ultimatums. One shadows over breakfast toast way station's community kitchen smelled like sizzling chorizo. And victory. Yesterday's building inspection sign-off felt surreal official paper taped beside the fridge. Blessed. By Detective Vega's thumb-up selfie, Joe strutted about in her code-compliant, baby, hard hat while mango rib freshly healed. Shaved patch growing fuzz tried stealing tortillas from Spatula Jack's prep table. Elliot plated burritos for volunteers, grinning wider than a busted fan belt. Then his phone buzzed with an unknown number. Recorded voice. "Mr. Mercer, this is the Los Angeles Superior Court. You've been named in case number 22 CV8721. Please collect documents at your earliest convenience." He nearly dropped the salsa. Echoes of foreclosures, repossessions. Past disasters screamed in surround sound. Keanu, fork halfway to mouth. Read Elliot's face and instantly holstered his breakfast. "Talk to me, Xander," Elliot muttered. "He's suing me." To Legalese and left hooked envelope arrived in triplicate. Magnus Xander's signature looped like a python around the letterhead. Alleged trespass. Unlawful assembly. Property depreciation. Public nuisance. Plus punitive damages of $2 million. Joe's eyes bulged. To Mill. That's like 4 years of my coffee budget. Keanu skimmed the pages, brow knitting. It's not about money, it's intimidation. He wants us to scared to keep building. Elliot exhaled. It's working. But Keanu's grin turned sly. Then we call in a ringer. He dialed. "Hey, Jude, need that miracle clause." Hours later, Jude Okafor, ESQ, civil rights attorney. Three-piece suit the color of righteous fury strode onto site. He spoke with a preacher's cadence. "Xander's cases paper match in the rain. But we'll need countersuit ammo, testimony, footage, community impact data. You ready to turn your story into evidence?" Elliot swallowed. "Ready as I'll ever be." 3A ghost named Juliet at night. Elliot found Keanu on the half-finished rooftop. City lights shimmering like spilled jewels. "There's something else." He fished out a handwritten letter postmarked 2 days ago. Julia Mercer, ex-wife. The letter writer he'd never answered was coming to LA. "I saw you on TV. I'd like to see you in person, if that's okay." Keanu's eyebrows lifted. "Big chapter, big tornado," Elliot corrected. Past guilt bubbled. the lies during his drinking years, the workshop fire he blamed on faulty wiring, but knew was his own negligence. Mango patted over, rested a warm chin on Elliot's knee. Canine reminder, stay present. Keanu clinked protein shakes with him. You built walls strong enough for strangers. Maybe they'll hold against memories, too, for family reunion. Take one. Julia arrived the next afternoon, Prius dusted in highway bugs. She stepped out in jeans and a teacher chic cardigan, clutching a nervous smile and a tray of homemade cinnamon rolls. Because diplomacy is best served gooey. Elliot and Mango met her at the gate. For a heartbeat, adulthood dissolved, 20-something. Sweethearts rebuilding carburetors in his dad's driveway. The first heartbreak fight. The last goodbye. Julia knelt, petting Mango. He's bigger than I remember, and braver. Elliot's voice croaked, mostly hungrier. They toured the way station. Julia marveling at dorm pods, woodshop buzz. Joe yelling mind your fingers or lose M. In the community garden. Basil leaves perfuming the air. Julia finally spoke. I should have checked on you sooner. Elliot shook his head. I wouldn't have let you close. I was orbiting rock bottom. Tears pooled, but she laughed. You always did mix metaphors under stress. Then, softer, you look alive. For the first time, Elliot believed it. .5 Xander's counterpunch. Monday. Jude burst into the trailer war room, waving a fresh motion. He's accelerated proceedings. Court date in 3 weeks. Keanu drum table. We'll be ready. Right, Captain? Elliot stole a glance at Julia. Now inputting volunteer hours into a spreadsheet like she'd been here months, right? But Xander wasn't finished. The next morning, a glossy billboard rose on the adjacent lot. Bright red letters. Keep our neighborhood safe. Stop the way station. Paid for by Xander Capital and Concerned Citizens Alliance. Benneth. An airbrushed photo of a snarling dog, golden fur, menacing fangs. A doctored image of Mango. Spatula Jack almost choked on his omelet. He used the goodest boy as a bogeyman. Elliot's stomach dropped into the Mariana Trench. 6. The unthinkable offers if summoned by dread. Magnus Xander himself arrived moments later in a chauffeur black SUV. Perfect suit, shark smile. Flanked by 2 lawyers and Troy Diesel Ruckman. Yes, the biker. Eyes flicking everywhere but Elliot's face. Xander addressed the assembled volunteers as though giving a TED talk to toddlers. I'm here to propose a mutually beneficial resolution. Withdraw construction. Vacate in 7 days, and all legal action disappears. Plus, he produced a check. $100,000 from Mercer personally. Gasps. Joe muttered language that peeled paint. Elliot's fingers curled. And if we refuse? Xander's smile thinned. Then perhaps animal control. Takes interest in an aggressive dog endangering public safety. Injured once. You know, unpredictable temperament. Elliot felt the world tunnel. Mango's soft huff by his leg. Julia's hand squeezing his shoulder. Keanu stepping forward, voice calm but lethal. Your threat is noted. So is your check. He flicked it back, paper fluttering like a wounded bird into a puddle. Xander's eyes flashed contempt. You have until Friday. 7. Fault linesters cracked the camaraderie. Some volunteers feared lawsuits. A few quietly quit. Detective Vega warned Elliot, if animal control gets a formal complaint, I must investigate. Keep Mango visible, leashed, calm. Elliot's nightmares returned. Mango seized, kenneled, maybe worse. He doubled security shifts, rarely slept. Julia and Keanu took turns forcing him to eat. Even Joe's jokes felt brittle. One dusk, Elliot found Troy lurking alone near the billboard, helmet in hand. The biker's posture sagged. I didn't know they'd use Mango like that. He muttered. Spare me, Elliot snapped. Troy swallowed. I was high that day I kicked him. Court ordered rehab after the video blew up. I owe that dog my sobriety. Xander's paying my debts, but this feels wrong. Elliot's anger tangled with reluctant empathy. Then fix it. Troy nodded, jaw set. I'll try. 8. Operation Spotlight. Jude outlined the counter strategy. We weaponized truth in broad daylight. Testimony. Impact metrics. Real Mango, not billboard boogie Mango. Julia found her niche organizing a community open house and pet fair. Drive-in scheduled free vaccinations. Local artists painted murals live. Detective Vega arranged a mounted police meet and greet. Horses trump fear. And yes, Dogstar agreed to play again because once a 90s alt-rock band, always a charitable vibe. Elliot prepped a presentation, slides of transitional employment stats, volunteer hours, before, after portraits, but public speaking cold sweat returned. Keanu offered a hack. Pretend you're explaining carburetor airflow. Same passion, different nouns. Mango would close the show with a tricks and treats demo sit, shake, play dead audience favorite, proving he was about as aggressive as a marshmallow in a sun hat. 9A stage, a storm cloud open house. Day arrived sun-kissed. Food trucks lined the block, laughter echoing between half-painted walls. Neighbors once skeptical now queued for tours. Even council members showed. Elliot's speech hit all cylinders. Applause roared. Mango's finale melted hearts. Kids chanted his name. News crews beamed footage citywide. But away from cameras, Xander glared from his office TV. He dialed animal control. Sized late evening. Party winding down. An official van rolled up. Lights off but authority palpable. 2 officers approached, leashes and paperwork in hand. We've received a report of an unlicensed, potentially dangerous canine. We must take custody pending investigation. Elliot's veins iced. He's licensed, vaccinated. Look. He fumbled for documents. Julia produced vet files. Officers shrugged apologetically. Complaint alleges falsified records. Our directive stands. Mango whimpered as a loop dropped over his neck. Elliot's vision tunneled, fists white. Key news. Voice cut through. Elliot, breathe. We'll fight this smart. As the van door clanged shut, Mango's eyes trusting. Confused felt like barbed wire wrapped around Elliot's heart. 1-1 breakage point that night. The way station felt hollow. Volunteers huddled, unsure how to comfort a man who'd lost his compass. Julia sat beside Elliot on the curb. We get him back, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Elliot's reply was a whisper. He saved me when I had nothing left. Now I've got everything, except him. Lightning flash memory, the workshop fire years ago. He'd run in for tools while his old shepherd, Rusty, had been trapped inside. Lost that birth the spiral, never again. He'd vowed, never a dog. Pays for my mistakes. And now history rhymed. .12 an unlikely Al. Next morning, Troy appeared again, this time with security cam footage on a thumb drive. Xander ordered one of his guys to file the complaint. Fake bite marks, doctored timestamp. Jude plugged it into his laptop. Clear audio. Xander instructing, get that mud impounded. Mercer without the dog is half the man he'll fold. Jude's grin was pure courtroom flame. Chain of custody's messy, but with Troy's testimony we've got blistering leverage. Troy exhaled. Maybe my amends start here. 1 3-speed trial. Jude filed an emergency motion. The judge already irked by Xander's nuisance. Suits clogging the docket, scheduled a hearing in 48 hours. Courtroom packed. Volunteers, neighbors, reporters. Julia squeezed Elliot's hand. Keanu sat behind them, radiating silent solidarity. Xander's counsel droned about safety. Jude unleashed footage. Gasps. The judge's gavel cracked. Mr. Xander, explain this conspiracy to fabricate evidence. Xander blanched. Counsel requested recess denied. The judge ordered immediate release of Mango and hinted at sanctions, fines, ethics review, possible criminal charges. Elliot exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. One for reunion. Ripped animal control officers returned Mango outside the courthouse. The dog launched at Elliot, tail missile, almost knocking him down. Crowd AW'd, cameras flashed. Julia hugged them both. Keanu snapped a selfie, rare, genuine grin. Even the bailiff asked for a picture. For my daughter, sir, Elliot whispered into Mango's fur. Home, buddy, you're home. 1-5 Domino's fall. News outlets devoured the scandal. Developer plots to exile hero dog. Xander Capital's stock and reputation nosedived. Investors bolted. Within a week, Magnus Xander resigned to pursue personal projects, which probably meant yacht exile. The lawsuit evaporated. Instead, a city-brokered settlement granted the way station a 30-year lease at $1 year, plus a discretionary fund diverted from Xander's forfeited assets. Karma with interest. Troy, having testified, entered the Haven Project's rehab wing by choice. Joe promised him mechanic shifts once he graduated. Boot meets wrench, no dogs involved. Julia, 2 weeks into her visit, accepted the role of education director, setting up GED and resume clinics. Elliot tried to act surprised. "I packed for 3 days," she laughed, brandishing a waystation hoodie. "And Elliot?" He finally slept 8 glorious hours. Mango sprawled across his shins. Keanu's parting text glowing on the nightstand. "You held the line, Captain. 2 more parts to write. Don't skip the joy beats." Elliot smiled into the dark. The past hadn't fired its last shot, perhaps, but he'd learned to fire back with community, truth, and a dog whose bite was purely metaphoric. Foundations of tomorrow. 1 ribbon cutting, and restarts 9 months after the first cinder block was set. The waystation finally smelled of fresh paint instead of potential. Banners fluttered from the rafters. Grand opening, repairing the world, 1 life at a time. Elliot stood by the entrance in a thrift store blazer that tried and failed to tame his mechanic shoulders. Mango sported a satin bow tie that succeeded at taming absolutely no one. Every 3rd guest bent down for a selfie. Detective Vega snipped the ceremonial ribbon with the kind of grin that says paperwork was worth it. Keanu handed out commemorative buttons, tiny spark plugs forming a heart. Joe complained the design was too cutesy, but wore 3 of them anyway. Julia MCD from a portable stage. Her teacher voice equal parts command and comfort. "This isn't a shelter, it's a launch pad. Please keep hands and hopes inside." The vehicle. Applause thundered across the courtyard like applause had been saving itself. For this moment, Elliot exhaled. "We did it." Except they hadn't. Opening the doors, he realized, was the easy part. Keeping them open, that required a daily miracle, preferably before coffee. Today 1 chaos theory be noon. The culinary classroom's industrial mixer seized. When Spatula Jack decided it could knead baguettes and mix paint if you believe hard enough. A new resident, Harper Buzz Rodriguez ex-DJ, current insomnia connoisseur. Ray wired the dorm's smart lights to flashy DM colors at 2 a.m. Unintended epilepsy test passed. Patient's test failed. Mango discovered the compost pile and staged a covert broccoli heist, leaving evidence in the form of 1 guilty burp during the donor tour. Elliot sprinted from crisis to crisis like a caffeine-powered Roomba. At 4 p.m. he collapsed onto a bench beside Keanu, who nursed coconut water like it owed him rent. "Is data always easier?" Elliot asked. Keanu grinned. "Nope, that's what day 3 is for." Elliot groaned. Mango licked his face, tasting the salt of triumph seasoned with panic. 3 funding feels and spreadsheet phantoms 2 weeks in. Jude popped into the office with a polite cough that sounded suspiciously like bad news. "Grant committee loves you," he said, flipping his tablet. "But they need quarterly metrics to release phase 2 funds." Elliot stared at the spreadsheet template, like it was hieroglyphics written by numbers wearing tiny hats. Julia squeezed his shoulder. "Relax, we'll teach the columns to behave." Yet grants were just half the puzzle. Utilities alone resembled a hungry Caillou. Donations helped, but momentum waned after the media honeymoon. Keanu proposed a subtle push. "Let's throw an impact expo, not just speeches, actual demos, cars repaired, meals cooked, dogs trained, people pay for proof." Joe slammed a wrench on the table for emphasis. "Not violence probably. And we sell merch." I gave a damn at the waystation. Black tea, white letters, simple, righteous, spatula. Jack chimed in from the hallway. "I'll design limited edition spatulas." To this day, no one knows if he was joking. For Troy's milestone and Mango's promotion, graduation day of Troy's rehab coincided with an OSHA inspection. Life adores thematic overlaps. Troy, newly steady, walked the shop floor in a borrowed tie, apologizing to every volunteer within earshot. Joe flung him a rag. "Enough sorries. Wipe that carb and earn your keep." At the ceremony, Troy approached Elliot and Mango. "I can't undo what I did," he said, eyes shiny but jaw set. "But I can build something better." Elliot offered a handshake. Troy opted for a hug, the awkward kind where motorcycles might explode if you squeeze too hard. Mango nuzzled Troy's leg, a silent absolution. Dr. Lin then unveiled Mango's new vest. Therapy dog in training asked to pet. Elliot choked up. Keanu whispered, "Full circle looks good on him." 5. The pitch heard around the lobby enter. Novatech Automotive, a green tech startup pumping venture capital faster than it printed buzzwords. CEO Ariel Cho requested a tour, high heels clicking like hail on tile. She admired the community garage, the training curriculum, and especially Troy's rebuild of a 1973 Honda CB350 nicknamed Second Chance. At lunch, Ariel pitched, "We'll fund your auto program and supply our prototype electric retrofit kits. In exchange, Waystation trainees become our beta mechanics. Media synergy, social impact, tax credits. Everybody wins." Joe folded tattooed arms. "And when the pilot fizzles, what?" "Our folks land in the unemployment pile." Ariel's smile sharpened. "We think big." Failures off the roadmap. Elliot asked for 48 hours to deliberate. After she left, crew opinions fractured. Julia, "Partnership means jobs and exposure, structured growth." Joe, "I smell strings, big shiny strings." Troy, silent, polishing Second Chance, clearly torn between caution and the gleam of possibility. Keanu, hovering in the background, Yoda level neutral. Sometimes the right road is paved with risk, sometimes it's paved with concrete shoes. Due diligence first. Elliot's stomach voted for hibernation under desk. 6. Due diligence and dumpster files. Detective Vega, off-duty but ever curious, slipped Elliot a brown envelope. Clippings about Novatech's last pilot in Nevada terminated after flammable battery packs set off a warehouse blaze. Official statement blamed legacy wiring. Locals blamed cost-cutting. Settlement sealed. Elliot confronted Ariel on a Zoom call. She frowned. "Old news. We replaced the design and leadership." Then, a softer tone. "We can't change the past, but we can hire the people who live with it." The line echoed in Elliot's head for hours. Mango, sensing angst, dropped a soggy tennis ball at his feet. Ancient canine therapy. Play solves puzzles. Speeches can't. At 3 a.m., Elliot drafted pros, cons on a whiteboard. Pros, jobs, stable revenue, green creds, curriculum expansion, national spotlight. Cons, brand risk, tech failure, corporate leash, Joe's death glare. He circled jobs twice, then circled risk 3 times. Fell asleep in the chair, marker uncapped, dreaming of batteries chasing him through paperwork forests. 7. Council, committee, community. Next night, an emergency town hall. Residents, volunteers, donors, even skeptical neighbors. Elliot presented the Novatech offer, warts and all. He finished with chaos hard honesty. The Waystation's purpose is people, not profit. If this partnership bends that mission, we walk no matter the dollar signs. But progress is a team engine, and I'm one piston. Silence. Then Buzz raised a hand. "I burned bridges DJing raves that rattled neighbors' teeth. Waystation gave me quiet space. If Novatech's noise funds more spaces, maybe it's worth earplugs." Others chimed in. Workforce opportunity, environmental stewardship, cautionary tales. Finally, Keanu stepped forward. Regular jeans, oil on his sleeve. "In filmmaking, every stunt has a safety net. It's built by people who know the risk, who trust each other to shout cut when things go sideways. Vote yes only if you're ready to sew that net together." Ballots were scrap lumber, with yes, no scribbled in Sharpie. Count 60 to yes, 18 nitrogen monoxide, for somehow drew a pancake. Joe glared but didn't veto. Democracy tasted bitter but acceptable. 8. Signing day and small print. Surprise contract negotiations devoured a fortnight. Jude haggled like a caffeinated octopus. Every clause had sub-clause. Is wearing seatbelts. Ariel signed. Cameras flashed. Check cut. $1.25 million over 2 years, performance-based. In return, the Waystation's garage became Novalab LA, still community-owned but co-branded. Residents would earn industry certificates. Novatech would get real-world data. Win-win. Theoretically. Elliot tucked the check into the safe, heart drumming a tribal beat. Mango wagged dogs trust checks implicitly. 9. Growing pains and glitch. S3. Months later, the first retrofit class launched. Buzz live-streamed the teardown of a fossil fuel engine, quipping, "Welcome to the E-revolution, bye-bye, dinosaur juice." The clip hit for OK views. Donors spiked. but prototypes arrived with firmware bugs. Battery casings didn't align with legacy chassis. Troy spent nights machining custom brackets. Ariel, remote from HQ, emailed pep talks disguised as deadlines. Stress seeped. Joe snapped at interns. Julia juggled vendor invoices like flaming batons. Elliot found himself sleepwalking to the fridge. For 2 a.m. pickles, a coping skill Mango did not judge, but certainly mooch. Then came the pop. During a test ride. A cell crack, no fire, but enough smoke to trigger evacuation. No injuries, yet panic tastes metallic. Local news swarmed. Headlines: Waystation's electric dream shocking setback. Ariel video called red-eyed. We'll fix it. But optics are brutal. We must pause public tests. Elliot stared at the shut-down floor, empty as an unplugged arcade. Residents who'd just begun earning stipends now clocked 0 hours. Morale cracked like that battery cell. Keanu's curveball and rainy Tuesday. Keanu showed Elliot a script, Ride Again. Indie film about a fallen racer mentoring at-risk youth in a hybrid bike program. They want me, but I said I'll sign if we shoot half the movie here. Hire Waystation residents for crew and build the bikes. Elliot's jaw took a vacation from his face. Can we juggle Hollywood chaos on top of Novatech chaos? Keanu's eyes twinkled. Chaos is multilingual, but it pays union rates. Jude negotiated location fees, apprenticeship contracts, insurance layers thicker than mango puree. Ariel consented grudgingly. Publicity might resurrect trust. Joe started drawing floor plans like war maps. Film unit here, class there, spatula. Jack nowhere near craft services. 1-1 action and reaction cameras rolled. Residents became grips. Electricians, set medics. Buzz spun prop bike wheels between takes, humming techno lullabies. Julia tutored extras on resumes between scene resets. Mango, with director's permission, cameoed as shop dog #1, earning scale pay and treats. Movie money patched stipends, restored pride. But double duty strained resources. One Friday, a misunderstanding over tool carts escalated. Troy yelling. A gaffer shouting back. Everyone forgetting sleep is a finite resource. Elliot intervened, voice cracking. We are one team. He realized the tone sounded painfully like his father the day before their final blow-up. Shame pricked later. Keanu found him alone among stacked apple boxes. Leaders stumble. He said, handing Elliot a lukewarm coffee, but the ground teaches better than the pedestal. Elliot sipped, grimaced. Tastes like déjà vu and regret. Add sugar. Keanu shrugged. One battery breakthrough and bitter news. Novatech engineers arrived in person, sleeves rolled, collaborating instead of dictating. Troy's bracket fix inspired a redesigned casing. Joe's insistence on quality control birthed a new inspection checklist. The next prototype purred silently across the lot. No smoke, only cheers. Ariel visited for the successful demo, genuinely moved. Partnership was risky, but your grit rewrites boardroom vocabulary. She promised bonuses once production ramped. Victory tasted sweet until Detective Vega delivered devastating news. Magnus Zander had fled the country before his ethics trial, but not before liquidating remaining properties. One of those deeds included the alley and access road behind the Waystation, now sold to a freight consortium planning to erect a distribution hub that would funnel 12 semi-trucks an hour past resident dorms. Elliot felt the foundations quake literally and figuratively. 1-3 ultimatum to .0 legal window, 60 days to contest, else heavy machinery moves in. Jude sighed. We can fight, but funds are thin and fatigue is real. Residents feared noise, pollution, safety. Novatech threatened relocation if logistics hampered. The film crew eyed alternate sets. Elliot convened the biggest circle yet in the courtyard. Floodlights buzzing overhead. He spoke with gravel hope. A sanctuary can't sit on a fault line forever. But moving isn't always running. Sometimes it's steering. If we stay, we fight trucking giants. If we relocate, we lose bricks but keep heartbeat. Vote with honesty, not fear. Another scrapwood ballot this time. 3 options. Fight, negotiate for safety measures. Relocate and rebuild elsewhere, funds permitting. Counting seemed to stretch spacetime. Final tally, 41 negotiate, 29 fight. 17 relocate. To broccoli doodles. Mango, mandate clear but fragile. Diplomacy first. Elliot emailed the consortium's VP, requesting talks. Attached, a short film clip of Mango wagging beside kids, painting murals subtle emotional artillery. One for midnight on the loading dock before negotiations even began. Early surveyors trespassed to mark drilling spots. Joe caught them. At midnight voices escalated. Tape measures raised like jousting lances. Elliot rushed over. Heart-punching ribs. Found Joe nose to nose with a foreman thrice her width. Elliot stepped between. Stop, we're still talking tarmac, not war. Foreman shrugged. Clock's ticking, buddy. Back in the office, Elliot stared at the original napkin blueprint, the one drenched in syrup back at that diner. He realized the way station was. More idea than address. But could he surrender the physical dream after so much sweat? Keanu entered. Silent. He'd been reviewing footage the day crew repairing bikes, Troy mentoring teens, Julia laughing with GED grads. He set the tablet down. Where we park isn't who we are, he said. But losing ground hurts. Let's try judo, use there. Wait, Elliot squinted, meaning. Keanu smiled. Public-private partnership, Chapter 2. Offer the consortium a workforce pipeline, green tech conversions, PR halo. Ask them to reposition the hub to blocks over vacant lots. Fewer homes. Everyone gains. Elliot's jaw clenched. And if they laugh, then we punch above belt but below ego. Press petitions. Film spotlight. They bought asphalt. They didn't buy silence. Elliot inhaled. Dealer's choice. Hope or havoc. 1-5 cliffhanger junction negotiation day set for next Tuesday, 5 days away. In the meantime, the film wrapped principal photography. Final scene. Keanu's character rides the hybrid bike across sunrise. Crew applauds. Keanu gifts second chance motorcycle to Troy. Tears all around. Julia surprises Elliot with a question, not will you move in? Already did, but will you let yourself be happy if the view changes? He doesn't answer aloud, but the way he kisses her tastes like maybe. Night falls. Courtyard silent except a lone cricket orchestra. Elliot walks Mango along the contested alley, stars peeking between streetlight halos. He runs a hand along the brick wall, the first one he ever laid. Whatever happens, he tells Mango. We carry the mortar inside. Mango sits, tilts. Head, mortals, more tails. Hard to translate. Dog zen. From the north. Faint rumble of diesel engines scouting the route. From the south. Way station windows glow with new futures to roads. One heartbeat, decision in 5 days. Crossroads of steel. 5 days, one nervous Sunday dawn bruised purple. Like the sky had spent the night brawling with anxiety. Elliot stood at the way station gate, coffee cooling in his fist. Mango leaning against his leg like a living paperweight. Stay human. 5 days to convince the freight consortium Titan Translogistics to reroute its megahub. 5 days before. Surveyors returned with orange stakes and a convoy of excavators. 5 days for a sanctuary to decide if it was concrete or conviction. Keanu arrived on his battered Triumph, helmet under one arm, eyes twinkling with that calm before the impossible glint. Remember, he said, diplomacy is judo. We use their momentum, not our knuckles. Elliot sipped. What if judo fails? Then we improvise, politely. To the proposal pack Monday morning, war room energy crackled. Jude, Julia, Joe, Troy, Buzz, Detective Vega, and Keanu crowded around a projector. Slides flashed. Offer, way station workforce pipeline gives skilled mechanics, warehouse techs. Sweetener, Novatech retrofits for Titan's diesel fleet gives green. PR, fuel savings. Ask, relocate hub to blocks west to abandoned Armitage foundry lots. Fund pedestrian skybridge over planned truck route. Joe jabbed her wrench at the screen. Add noise abatement walls. Residents need sleep more than existential. Rumble. Julia typed the amendment. Buzz added bullet point emojis shaped like tiny mufflers. Keanu packaged it all with a short teaser video shot. By film crew friends showing way station successes. Residents waving certificates. Mango comforting vets. Troy's bracket fixing. The battery issue. Spatula jack flipping Echo pancakes now a breakfast staple. Background track, Dog Stars. Unreleased acoustic anthem brick by brick. Persuade their hearts before their accountants, Keanu said. 3 boardroom rumble Tuesday. Titans HQ, glass monolith. Lobby big enough to house low-orbit satellites, Elliot Jude. And Keanu rode the elevator listening to Muzak covers. Of 90s grunge who knew Smells Like Teen Spirit could sound like elevator yogurt. In the boardroom, Titans brass awaited. Dalia Quintero, VP Operations Steel Bun Hair. No-nonsense posture. Mr. Clive Starr, legal counsel smile like a buttered guillotine. Roland Pike, logistics guru thumbs permanently on a tablet. They watch the way station reel. Dahlia's expression thawed to degrees. Roland's didn't blink. Clive's pen scribbled WORRYINGLY. Jude presented the relocation plan. Keanu explained the fleet retrofit ROI. Elliot concluded, we're not blocking progress, we're offering an upgrade. Silence. Dahlia spoke first. Relocating adds 6 weeks to our build. Costly. Keanu slid forward a Novatech cost savings sheet. Battery retrofit cuts diesel spend 18% the first year. Roland perked, numbers his native tongue. Clive, however, countered, your facility could still obstruct traffic flow. Elliot inhaled. Judo time. We'll adjust shift changeovers so resident vehicles avoid peak truck hours. Plus, you get PR Gold. Titan boosts housing stability. Try spinning that into negative ink. Dahlia almost smiled. We'll deliberate. But Clive's eyes flicked to Roland. Stall. Elliot recognized the old corporate delay tactic, the polite let the deadline kill them. They had 3 days left. Point for sabotage at 2 a.m. Wednesday night. Security cameras caught figures cutting the fence behind the garage. Joe's walkie erupted. Intruders, Elliot, Troy, and Vega sprinted out. Shadows darted between pallets. A generator sputtered, then exploded in a shower of sparks. Fire licked at tarps. Troy grabbed an extinguisher. Joe yanked emergency shutoffs. Within minutes, flames were out, but damage was ugly. Novolab's prototype batteries scorched. Wiring melted. Vega examined bolt cutters left behind. Tags still attached to the handles. To clean. Someone wants intimidation, not actual arson. Charges. Keanu, writhing breathless, stared at the wreckage. Titan. Elliot clenched his jaw. Or Xander's ghost hitting rewind. Either way, morning news would scream fire at the way station. Their leverage shrank with every puff of smoke. 5 Phoenix Motodon. Volunteers faced the blackened lab. Heartbreak in hard hats. Elliot climbed a stack of charred pallets. Voice hoarse but steady. They want to prove we're fragile. Let's prove we're forged. He assigned shifts. Cleanup, rebuild, social media truth dump. Novatech expedited replacement parts. Film crew loaned lighting. By dusk, debris was cleared. Lab skeleton inspected safe. Julia posted a before-after montage with the caption bricks burn, hearts don't. It trended. Donations pinged. Titan's PR director emailed hope the rebuild goes smoothly. Corporate chess offering sympathy in public while stalling in private. 6 Keanu's midnight call Thursday 11 p.m. Keanu rang Elliot, voice urgent yet whisper calm. Found something. He'd been connecting film industry dots. Titan's parent company, Atlas Combined, financed half the blockbuster slate this decade, including Magnus Xander's real estate documentary spin-off, Xander Can't Strike. Directly, Keanu said, but he's whispering in Atlas' ears, Titan's ears. Elliot thumped desk. We need a checkmate, not another speech. Keanu's paws crackled. Hollywood loves redemption arcs and hates cover-ups. If Atlas is backing sabotage, investors should see the risk. Elliot realized they had footage, camera logs of intruders, Vega's investigation timeline, corporate links, but exposure risked. Novatech's deal, film location, goodwill, everything. Was scorched earth truth worth losing? Safe soil, fade out. 7 Council of Conscience. Friday before dawn, core crew gathered in the kitchen. Caffeine pilgrimage complete. Elliot laid options. Release evidence, publicly force Titan, Atlas to distance from sabotage. Risk lawsuit, lose partnership potential. Hold evidence, push diplomacy, hope Titan caves under good faith pressure and public support. Walk away, relocate to cheaper land before concrete pours. Arguments ping-ponged. Jude, option 1 has legal teeth, but countersuits could bleed. U.S. Joe, leave after we blood to build, over my socket set. Julia, quiet. Then, sometimes seeds need transplanting to thrive. Troy, evidence without action makes us accomplices. Buzz, better to stream truth than buffer lies. All eyes turned to Elliot. Leadership tasted like battery acid. He looked at mango therapy vest sleeping beside Spatula Jack's spatulas. Dog didn't care about real estate lines, he cared about safety. Belonging. Elliot breathed deep. We choose option 1, full transparency. A ripple of fear. Then resolve. 8 Truth drop Friday noon. The Waystation live streamed a press conference makeshift podium. Mural backdrop. Julius drones buzz for cinematic angles. Thank you. Film crew closing parenthesis. Elliot spoke first. Last night's fire was no accident. Evidence suggests a sabotage network linked to Atlas Combined. Parent of Titan Translogistics. We believe this violates not only law, but humanity. Vega unveiled footage of intruders, bolt cutters. License plate stills traced to an Atlas security subcontractor. Jude cited statutes. Keanu appealed to conscience. A sanctuary isn't NIMBY. It's everybody, if building hope threatens profit. Maybe profit needs a retrofit. Media exploded. Hashtags, hashtag Titan Truth, hashtag Atlas Arson, hashtag Waystation Strong. Stock tickers jolted. Atlas PR scrambled. 9 the 11th hour call 38 a.m. Titan's Dahlia called Elliot, voice sharp like teacup cracks. Atlas suspended our project pending investigation. But I'm not Atlas. She proposed an emergency meet on neutral. Ground City Hall at noon. Just Elliot, Keanu, Jude, Dahlia, and city planners. We need your solution, she admitted. I need my conscience back. City Hall showdown. Chambers smelled of old varnish and fresh panic. Dahlia arrived. Alone, sleepless eyes, no lawyers. She slid a revised memo. Titan would shift to the Armitage lots, finance sound walls, Skybridge, and contribute $500,000 to Waystation vocational programs. In return, Waystation dropped sabotage charges once perpetrators subcontractor execs were indicted. Jude reviewed. We want written guarantees. No noise between 11 p.m. - 6 a.m. Zero emission vehicles within 2 years. Dahlia nodded. Keanu leaned in. And Navatech stays onboard fleet retrofit pilot expands to Titan trucks. Done, Dahlia said, signing with a flourish that looked like relief. Handshakes, flashbulbs. Titan's statement hit wires. Partnership with community exemplifies responsible growth. Atlas released its own. We are shocked by allegations and cooperating fully. Corporate for we're scared of your receipts. 1-1 homecoming Saturday evening. Waystation courtyard transformed. Food stalls. Lanterns strung between eaves. Film crew projectors replaying the story montage now with new chapter. Residents donned I gave a damn tease. Joe added, and I still do in Sharpie on hers. Dahlia attended, incognito hoodie. Sampling Spatula Jack's churro waffles. Don't ask, do taste. She chatted with Troy about second chances. With Buzz about EDM forklift playlists. With Julia about adult ed scholarships Titan could sponsor. Mango, tail in perpetual metronome. Wore a tiny sign, security pet me for clearance. Keanu took the portable stage, guitar in hand, dog star behind him. Film lights bathing the night in soft gold. This is for every wall that was ever kicked down just so we could build a door. They played Open Roads. Elliot danced with Julia. Steps. Awkward but honest, forehead to hers. When the song ended, he caught the mic. We proved a home isn't for walls, it's the people who guard each other's hope. The trucks may roll, but our hearts steer. Applause like thunder this time, the welcome kind. 1-2. Epilogue, wheels still turning 6 months later. Titan's relocated hub opened with an inaugural convoy of Navatech electric trucks. Waystation grads. In driver's seats, Troy leading maintenance crew. Joe's mentorship program certified 30 new mechanics. Her coffee budget somehow expanded anyway. Buzz launched a night shift podcast, Sleepless Wrenches, mixing lo-fi beats with resident stories. Julia's GED clinic boasted a 92% pass rate. She and Elliot adopted a rescue mutt named Bolt Mango's apprentice. Detective Vega got promoted. She credits community policing done right. The indie film Ride Again premiered at festivals, netting Keanu his sweetest review, Hope on Wheels. Waystation residents walked the red carpet in donated thrift store chic. Mango donned tiny sunglasses, stole every photo. And the Waystation, still noisy, messy, gloriously alive its mission scrawled above the entrance in Joe's welding torch. Rescued is still not a past tense. Every dawn, engines rumble, hammers ping, chalk squeaks on whiteboards. Elliot steps out with coffee, now decaf doctor's orders. Mango and Bolt flanking him. He looks at the skyline, old bricks, new. Steel End whispers a mantra no thunder can drown. Hold the dream, share the road. Then he unlocks the gate, and the world walks in. YouTube transcript. Part 7. Crossroads of steel cold open. Security cam footage of sabotage fire. Then smash cut to rebuilt lab. And cheering volunteers. Narrator steady, triumphant, when dark money lights a match. Truth floods the room. Boardroom scenes, city hall signatures. Titan electric trucks rolling under Skybridge, painted with Waystation mural. Keanu press scrum clip. Community isn't a location, it's an engine. Keep it tuned, it can haul miracles. Montage. GED class grads tossing caps. Troy handing wrenches to trainees. Joe welding motto sign. Elliot voiceover as he opens gates at sunrise. We didn't beat the odds. We changed the math. Final shot. Drone pulls up over Waystation. Titan hub in distance. Sunrise igniting both roofs. Narrator soft fade out. End of one road. Start of another. Wherever wheels spin, kindness rides shotgun.